I found my neighbor's journal 3 days after she vanished. The last entry was dated 2 weeks in the future, and it described my death in perfect detail. Before we continue, subscribe and turn on notifications, because stories like this are more common than you think. Maple Street looked like every other suburban neighborhood in Cedar Falls, Oregon. White picket fences, trimmed lawns, children playing on sidewalks. But in the autumn of 2019, something shifted. It started with Sarah Chun, the architect who lived at number 42. Then it was the Hendersons at number 38. By winter, 7 families had disappeared from a street that once held 23 homes. No bodies, no evidence, no answers. I'm David Mercer, and I lived at number 44, right between the first 2 families who vanished. This is what I discovered before I became the 8th. I moved to Maple Street in June 2019. Divorced, mid-40s, graphic designer working from home. I needed quiet. I needed space. I needed to forget. Sarah Chun was the first person I met. She knocked on my door the day I moved in, holding a casserole dish and wearing a smile that seemed just slightly too wide. "Welcome to the neighborhood," she said. "We're all very close here." Her eyes lingered on mine a moment too long. I thanked her and closed the door, thinking nothing of it. The Hendersons introduced themselves the next day, Marcus and Jennifer, both teachers married 15 years. They invited me to a block party that Saturday. "Everyone comes," Marcus said. "It's tradition." I attended out of politeness. 23 families gathered in the community park at the end of Maple Street. Children ran through sprinklers. Adults drank wine and laughed too loudly. Everything seemed aggressively normal. But I noticed something strange. Every conversation I joined would suddenly stop. People would smile. They would ask about my life. They would listen with an intensity that felt wrong. When I mentioned my divorce, Sarah Chun appeared beside me. "Marriage is a prison," she whispered. "But there are worse prisons than marriage, David." Sarah vanished on October 3rd. I know the exact date because I was watering my lawn when the police arrived. 2 officers knocked on her door. No answer. They checked the windows. Her car was in the driveway. Her lights were on. The door was unlocked. They went inside. I watched from my porch, garden hose still running. 15 minutes later, they emerged with confused expressions. One spoke into his radio. More cars arrived. Detectives. Crime scene investigators. But no ambulance. No body bag. No Sarah. A detective named Morrison questioned me that evening. "When did you last see Ms. Chun?" "Yesterday morning. She was getting her mail." "Did she seem upset? Anxious?" "No." "She waved at me." Morrison made notes. "Did you notice anything unusual about her lately?" I hesitated. The truth was, Sarah had been acting strangely for weeks. She started knocking on my door at odd hours, 7 in the morning, 11 at night. She would ask random questions. "Do you dream, David? Do you ever feel like you're being watched? Have you noticed the pattern yet?" When I asked what pattern, she would smile and walk away. I told Morrison none of this. I don't know why. The Hendersons vanished 3 weeks later. Same pattern. Lights on. Car in driveway. Door unlocked. No sign of struggle. No bodies. This time, Morrison questioned the entire street. "Did anyone see the Hendersons yesterday?" Everyone had. Marcus was mowing his lawn at 3 p.m. Jennifer was reading on the porch at 5 p.m. They ate dinner on their back deck at 7 p.m. Multiple neighbors confirmed it. But nobody saw them after 8 p.m. And by morning, they were gone. Morrison set up a command post at the community center. FBI agents arrived. The media descended on Cedar Falls like vultures. Suburban Street plagued by mysterious disappearance. Families vanish without trace in Oregon town. Police baffled as 3rd family goes missing. Wait, 3rd? I hadn't heard about a 3rd family. I confronted Morrison the next day. Who else disappeared? He looked exhausted. The Proctors at number 36. Yesterday morning. Why wasn't I told? We're trying to prevent panic, Mr. Mercer. 7 people have vanished from my street. I think panic is appropriate. Morrison leaned closer. His voice dropped. Between you and me, we have no idea what's happening. No forced entry. No blood. No financial irregularities. No digital footprints. These people just stopped existing. I found Sarah's journal on November 15th. It was sitting on my porch when I opened the door to get my newspaper. Just sitting there, as if someone had placed it deliberately. The leather was worn. The pages were yellowed. My name was written on the front in silver ink. For David Mercer. My hands shook as I opened it. The first entry was dated June 10th, 2019, the day I moved in. He arrived today. The new one. He doesn't know yet. None of them ever know. But he'll learn. They always learn. The pattern demands it. I flipped through the pages. Entry after entry about me. What time I woke up. What I ate for breakfast. Who I called on the phone. What I watched on television. She had been documenting my entire life. But it was the final entry that stopped my heart. It was dated November 27th. 12 days in the future. David discovered the truth today. He tried to run. He made it 3 blocks before the pattern caught him. His house is empty now. His car sits in the driveway. His lights are on. But David is gone. Just like the rest of us. The pattern is complete. Number 44 has been consumed. Now we wait for the next. P.S. I'm sorry, David. I tried to warn you. But the pattern cannot be stopped. Can only be fed. I went to Morrison immediately. He read the journal with growing alarm. This is evidence in a missing persons case. Where did you get this? It was on my porch. Who put it there? I don't know. Sarah's been missing for 6 weeks. Morrison called in the FBI. They analyzed the journal. The handwriting matched Sarah's. The ink was standard ballpoint. No fingerprints except mine and Sarah's. But it was the future-dated entry that disturbed them most. She wrote about events that haven't happened yet, Agent Torres said. Either she's predicting the future, or this is an elaborate hoax. What if she's right? I asked. What if I disappear on November 27th? Torres didn't answer. They placed me under protective surveillance. Agents parked outside my house. Cameras monitored my doors. I wore a GPS tracker. November 27th arrived. I didn't sleep. I stayed inside. Agents checked on me every hour. At 7 p.m., Morrison called. How are you holding up? I'm still here. Good. We've got you covered. Nothing's going to happen. At 8 p.m., the power went out. The backup generators kicked in immediately, but for 3 seconds, my house was completely dark. When the lights returned, I was alone in my living room. The agents outside hadn't moved. The cameras showed nothing unusual. My GPS tracker was still transmitting. But I felt different, like something had shifted, like reality had stuttered. I started researching. Census records, property deeds, historical archives. Maple Street was built in 1987. 23 houses, all occupied by 1988. And then I found the old newspaper articles. Family of 4 vanishes from Cedar Falls home, 1991. Local architect disappears without trace minus 1996. Mysterious disappearances continue on Maple Street minus 2003. It had been happening for decades. Every 4 years. 7 families. No evidence. No bodies. The same houses every time. Number 42. Number 38. Number 36. Number 34. Number 40. Number 46. Number 44. My house was always last. I brought this to Morrison. He looked at the articles with pale face. Why didn't we find this? Because nobody looked back far enough. The pattern repeats every 4 years. Different families. Same houses. It's been happening since the street was built. Agent Torres joined us. That's impossible. Properties change owners. People move. The houses don't care, I said. Whatever this is, it's connected to the locations, not the people. I went to the city planning office. I needed to know who built Maple Street, who designed it, why these specific houses. The records were sealed. Confidential, the clerk said. Order of the City Council. People are dying. The records are sealed. I broke in that night. The files were in the basement, locked in a cabinet marked Maple Street, restricted access. Inside, I found architectural plans. The street layout wasn't random. When viewed from above, the 23 houses formed a symbol, an ancient symbol. I recognized it from my research into occult geometry, a binding circle, and the 7 houses where people disappeared. They were positioned at the intersection points, the places where the circle's power was strongest. There was a note attached to the plans, written in faded ink. Construction completed October 1987. Binding ritual performed November 1987. First cycle, 1991. The pattern will repeat until the debt is paid. 23 families anchor the circle. 7 must be sacrificed every 4 years to maintain the seal. What lies beneath must never be released. E.M. I researched the land's history. Before Maple Street, there was nothing. Just forest. Just earth. But going back further, much further, I found references to the area in indigenous oral histories. The forbidden ground. Where the old ones sleep. The place that hungers. In 1823, a settler named Edmund Matthews built a homestead where Maple Street now stands. His entire family disappeared within a year. In 1847, another family tried. Gone within months. By 1860, the area was abandoned. People called it cursed. The church tried to bless it in 1901. The priest disappeared. They tried to build a school there in 1932. 3 construction workers vanished. The land sat empty until 1987, until someone decided to try again. But this time, they didn't fight the curse. They tried to contain it. 23 houses. A binding circle. 7 sacrifices every 4 years. Feed it. Contain it. Keep it sleeping. I had a choice. I could run. Leave Cedar Falls. Never look back. But Sarah's journal said I'd only make it 3 blocks. Or I could stay. Accept my fate. Become part of the pattern. Or I could try to break it. Morrison and Torres didn't believe me at first. You're saying this entire neighborhood is built on some kind of ancient evil? I'm saying something is under this ground. Something that was here long before us. The disappearances aren't murders. They're sacrifices. The circle keeps it contained. And if we evacuate everyone, remove them from the houses, I don't know. Maybe the seal breaks. Maybe whatever's down there wakes up. Torres made a decision. We evacuate. Tonight. Everyone leaves. They evacuated 16 families that night. The remaining 7 houses, including mine, were already empty. By midnight, Maple Street was abandoned. Police blocked both ends. Agents monitored from a distance. I stood with Morrison and Torres in the mobile command center watching camera feeds. Now what? Morrison asked. We wait. At 12:17 a.m., the ground began to shake. Small tremors at first, then violent shaking. The houses started to collapse. Not from the earthquake, from something else. The ground was opening, and something was rising. The cameras went dark one by one. We heard screaming, not from people, from the earth itself. When the shaking stopped, we approached cautiously. Maple Street was gone. In its place was a massive crater. At the bottom, partially exposed, was something impossible. A structure, made of stone that seemed to absorb light, covered in symbols that hurt to look at. What is that? Torres whispered. I recognized it from my research. A temple, thousands of years old, built by something that wasn't human. That's impossible. This area was surveyed. It wasn't here before, or it was here but on a different layer of reality. The binding circle kept it phased out, kept it sleeping, and we just broke the seal. Morrison grabbed my arm. How do we put it back? I thought about Sarah's journal, about the pattern, about the 7 sacrifices every 4 years. We can't, I said. Not without the houses, not without the circle. As I spoke, something moved in the crater, something vast, something ancient, something that had been sleeping for millennia. and we had just woken it up. The government cordoned off the area. Official story: geological instability caused localized sinkhole. They built a fence, posted guards, classified everything. But I know the truth. The temple is still there. The thing inside is still waking. And every 4 years, on November 27th, 7 people vanish from surrounding towns. Different locations, different families, but always 7. The pattern has expanded. The binding circle wasn't containing it. It was feeding it, keeping it satisfied, keeping it slow. Now it's hungry, and it's growing. I kept Sarah's journal. Sometimes I read it when I can't sleep. There's one entry I return to, the one dated December 1st, 4 days after I was supposed to disappear. I don't remember writing it, but it's in my handwriting. The pattern finds new ways. The circle is broken, but the hunger remains. I thought I was the last. I thought I escaped. But I understand now. The disappeared don't die. They transform. They become part of something larger, something eternal. I can feel it calling. I can hear the others. Sarah is here. The Hendersons are here. We're all here in the space between, feeding the thing that sleeps below. And soon there will be more, because the pattern cannot be stopped, can only evolve. If you're reading this, you're already part of it. The question isn't whether you'll disappear. The question is when. Look around your neighborhood. Count the houses. Notice the pattern. And when you do, remember, some prisons are older than memory. Some hungers are deeper than earth. And some sacrifices are eternal. See you soon. I moved to a new city, new state, new life. But yesterday, I counted the houses on my street. 23. And this morning, I found a casserole dish on my doorstep, with a note: "Welcome to the neighborhood. We're all very close here. SC." Sarah Chun has been dead or gone or transformed for 5 years. But the pattern remembers. The pattern evolves. The pattern spreads. I'm writing this as a warning. Count your houses. Notice the pattern. And when your neighbor smiles just a little too wide, when they ask questions with too much intensity, when they mention things they couldn't possibly know, run. But know that you'll only make it 3 blocks. The pattern always completes. And it's always hungry.